Hi, this is Carrie with Carrie Concealed and the Active Self Protection Extra channel. And today we have a very special guest with us. This is Mr. Warren Wilson.
This is not a paid endorsement, but I am a brand ambassador for Heckler and Koch for a reason. HK firearms are incredibly high quality, and when it's time to step up out of the entry tier, they're the only ones I recommend. You carry a gun just in case. Shouldn't it be an HK just in case?
All right, Mr. Warren, question number one is tell the people a little bit about yourself and how they can find you.
Well, I've been, let me see, I've been in law enforcement since the 1900s. So for quite a while, uh, just got into teaching quite a bit after that. Mostly was a cop, did patrol and that kind of thing. Married for 34 years, be 35 pretty quick here. So I've been around a little bit. I got one daughter,
Congratulations.
and now I'm running a police department's training division. I'm a captain over the division.
Okay, very cool. How long have you been doing that? Been in charge of the division?
This time around, 3.5 years.
Okay,
And then before that, it was another 3 years.
okay, that's awesome. Good stuff. And what part of the country are you located in?
So I'm in Northwest Oklahoma, um, kind of the biggest town out here anyway, not huge, but the biggest one we have in this area. So not too far from the conference, which everybody should go to,
Yes, absolutely.
and
The Half National Conference.
kind of centrally located to everything. We can pretty much go do anything we want, as long as we're willing to spend a day or two in the car.
That's good stuff. So you're in the panhandle of Oklahoma?
Just east of the Panhandle.
Just east. Okay. Good
Yep.
stuff. All right. So for how long have you been an instructor?
So in 2015, I was on the phone with Lynn Givens trying to see if she would let my daughter, who was 16 at the time, go take her Sunday ladies only class. So
Yes.
that weekend they were having an instructor class, and I thought, oh, I don't want to be an instructor. I have terrible stage fright, just awful,
Oh,
debilitating, just awful.
wow.
And for some reason, somehow she talked me into it within about 5 minutes. So we both went and took the class. I was really excited about it, and so I came back, and then the next week they had the advanced class. I took that, and then my chief saw range master instructor, and he was looking for somebody to be the range master and to fill in that. And he assumed that that the name of the company was the type of the class, and so I didn't argue with him. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Let's get me into training so I can kind of play with this new toy that I've got. So 2015, and then just been kind of building classes since then, and yeah, was lucky enough to come across you guys at some point and really get a kick out of going to ASP.
Oh, yeah. The national conference is great. It's good stuff. And
It
you
really
teach
is a one of a
there.
kind thing.
Yeah, you usually teach there each year, right?
Yeah, I teach a class on phobias and on how to kind of help students who have phobias. There's a lot of folks who want a gun that can't get over that hurdle of being afraid of the gun. And I've kind of done some research, and being a phobic person myself, I kind of figured out what works for most people, and then most importantly, how to spot it. Because rarely
Oh,
will somebody come to you and say,
yes.
"Hey, I'm scared of guns. I don't want to do this."
Yes.
Usually, they're just trying to get over it. So that's kind of my thing here recently, anyway.
That's great. What got you interested in the topic of phobias? And just so everybody knows, the reason why Mr. Moran was quite kind enough to do this interview with us is because in about an hour, you're going to be teaching all of the instructor cohort graduates. There's, I don't know, 70 or 80 of them, and you'll be
Look,
teaching
is that
them.
right?
Yeah, this topic. I don't know how many will show up for the call, but anyway, you'll be teaching us about phobias. So, how did you even get interested in the topic of phobias?
So that fear. I mean, nobody likes being afraid of things.
Right.
And if you're teaching somebody, that person is kind of in your charge. It's something we've all had kind of deep conversations there about, and how important it is to be respectful and to help them as much as we possibly can. Well, if they're so freaked out about it, they're not going to pick anything up. And they might be less safe with that gun because they're afraid of it. And then I just want to help. I just want people to be better and be okay. And a lot of folks that come to class, and it really struck me a while back. I had a lady come to class, and she told me that she was afraid to get a gun, but she wanted to get a gun. And I
Yeah.
said, okay, well, that's something that we've dealt with. And she said, the reason is because my boyfriend put a gun in my face one time. And I've heard that story
Yep.
so many times. And
Yep.
that's a person who needs desperately to be able to protect himself.
Yeah.
And so that kind of thing really, that kind of thing just really bugged me. And then when it came up again here recently, I got a chance to talk to some of the folks there at the conference. I said, you know what, I think I'm going to try to teach a little 2-hour block on how to spot that.
Yeah.
And it's not
Yep.
highly, it's not a not one that everybody goes to. I'll get a few students in there here and there. It's mostly for instructors,
Yeah.
but the ones I have in there really got kind of a kick out of it. And
Um,
I'm hoping that I've kind of passed it on. I've given the information away,
yeah.
uh, just so we can kind of get it out there and get maybe some folks. You never know when that
Right.
one student might be the one that needed that information real bad. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's my
I'm
interest in it.
Yeah, I'm so thankful you're talking about that topic too, because it's more prevalent, I think, than a lot of instructors in this space are willing to. Um, it's not that they're willing to see it. I think they just can't see it sometimes. And I think it's so hard for people to be able to admit that. My very first course at a formal firearms school, nationally recognized one of the people I shared the line with was a woman who had been shot in her belly button by her boyfriend, 5 rounds, 38 special, severed her spinal cord. And she overcame, she was 19 when that happened. And she's now a firearm instructor. And this was 15 years ago. But anyway, it's amazing to me the resilience that people have and their ability to overcome things like that. And just our role as instructors, how we can help them so much in doing that. So thank you for even talking about this topic. I'm really, really thankful that you do. I'm excited for the call tonight and to learn more about it. All right, next question is what was your first gun and what is your current favorite gun?
Okay, this is not going to be cool. My folks didn't have a lot of money
Sure.
when growing up, and so, but I was dying for a handgun. I was 11 years old whenever I finally wore them down, and I mean, I've been working on them for years. So I got an RG, not a Ruger, but an RG 22 little 6 shooter,
Yep.
and then my very next one was a 38 Charter Arms, which I still have.
Okay, I was gonna ask. Okay.
Still have that one. The other one got stolen from the house.
Oh,
Um, yes, I got that, and then my first real gun was a Beretta 92,
okay. Are you
and
prior
so
military?
do I know?
Are you prior military?
Nope. I just
Okay.
well, I'm a kid of the '80s, 44
Right. Okay.
Magnums, Berettas. That was the stuff in the movies. So you had to have one of those.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
And I did carry that 92 on duty for quite a while, and then my folks bought me a 96, the 40 cal,
Okay.
and it was they bought me that for graduating the academy, and then I carried that
Oh,
for quite a while too. But
that's
now I'm an
good
M&P
stuff.
guy.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And that's what your agency carries as well?
No, our agency kind of has, we have an accepted list. We
Okay.
provide somebody with a Glock 17 the first year, and that gives them time to kind of figure out what kind of gun they want, and then they buy their own after
Gotcha.
that. So everybody has, there's a list that we allow
Mhm.
of certain ones, and M&P's mine.
Yeah,
That's been my favorite since really when they first came out.
sure. Well, and when you find something that works for you,
Why
why
switch?
change?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I'm with
works.
you.
It works.
Good stuff. All right. Currently, what are you enjoying most about teaching? As in, which classes or which topics are you enjoying most?
So the most fun for me is always going to be beginner. That beginner stuff. It's always going to be fun. It's people keep saying how difficult it is. And I think it's just the opposite. I think it's
Yep.
just the opposite. I think it's not difficult at all because you generally have somebody. I mean, you'll occasionally have that guy that already knows everything, but for the most part, I just don't get that.
Yeah.
And I just get folks that are it's just fun. Smiles on their faces. They're safe when they go home. Never get a negative comment. I mean, I've gotten to the point where I got the class built to where I never hear anything negative in the reviews, and it's just super fun. One of the things that kind of got me more interested in that because that wasn't what I wanted to do at first. I wanted to do advanced concealed carry kind of stuff because everybody was doing it wrong and I was going to fix it,
Sure.
and then I learned that's what we really need is those beginner classes, those gateway classes like
Yeah.
Tiff and Och. Um,
Yeah.
Tiff and Och kind of do their gateway class there at Rangemaster, and Becky and I went to that. My wife Becky and I went to that, and that just sealed it for me. That's hard. It's kind of hard to get folks in classes, relatively local. Um, but it's worth it. I got one coming this week, and yeah, got one coming this weekend, and we're gonna have, half dozen, eight people, something like that in there, and that'll be good. That'll be the best time I have all year,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I
except for
understand.
ASP, except for the national conference. That's a pretty darn good time.
It is a good time. One of the things I love about well, about beginner classes, but also I love about the national conference is how many newer shooters we get at the national conference. We have some people that are, for the first time pressing triggers, and it's just great fun to have people, from all over the country that are coming, and some of them are pressing triggers for the very first time, and just a neat
That
place to be able
is
to watch them do that.
that is so much fun, and it seemed like there was a lot of new folks last year, and yet we had zero trouble.
Zero trouble. Yep. As safe as
Yeah,
can be. And they just suck the information out of you because they so desperately want it and they so desperately want accurate information, which is really good stuff. I'm thankful that you're teaching. I wish I could remember which instructor it was that said this, but early on in my journey, being an instructor, someone said that the most important, or they asked the question in an instructor class, hey, what's the most important level of firearm instruction to be teaching? And everybody's like, oh, this, that, this, that, this, that. And who should be teaching the beginner classes? And oh, beginner instructors, people are saying. And this instructor's like, no, absolutely not. The people that should be teaching the beginner classes should be the best instructors. And that's so that it gets people off on the right foot and shows them where they can go with it. And they're able to problem solve a little better because they've seen a lot more things and that sort of thing. So I just love hearing advanced or not advanced, but experienced instructors that enjoy teaching the beginner classes because it's
yeah.
so important. It changes
Well, it
everything.
is, and it's totally selfish too. It's totally selfish on my part. It's just more fun.
Yeah,
It's just a lot more fun. I teach in the police academy too, and that's a kind of a structured thing, and I can change things up a little bit. Not really change. I can add some
sure.
stuff to the program, but it's still not my program. It's not something that I invented and I wrote. And with the beginner class, I can just kind of look around the class and go, what we need to do? We need to change this up and do this drill instead,
Hmm.
because 6 out of 8 of them are having this problem.
Yeah,
So let's try to get that thing hammered out so they can have more fun and come back to class. But
yeah.
yeah, it's completely selfish. I will not claim any altruism from it whatsoever. It's just super fun, and I'll do it until I can't do it anymore.
I feel the same way too. I feel like very, very selfish that I enjoy teaching it. I have some local instructors that are willing to help me out and take on classes that I'm not able to teach or don't have the time in my schedule to teach. And they're like, "You never give us the beginning classes." I'm like, "I know. There's a reason for that."
There is another one I really really like, but it's hard to get people into. I have an instructor development class that
Yes.
I teach, and if you take my class and pass it successfully, you can get, that's the training you need to get your instructor certificate through the state to teach license classes.
Oh, wow.
And so I've had several people go through that, and I've got one of them that I was able to, because I hate teaching license classes because that's
Yeah.
not my class.
So,
Too structured.
yeah.
I can't do my own thing. And
There's
so
always that guy.
I was really just dying to get somebody to take that, and I got this fantastic lady that got through it, and then she does all the license classes, and she makes a whole lot more money than I do, but I don't have to teach those classes that I don't like
Yes.
so much, and I get to teach the beginner stuff, and then we kind of feed off each other and feed each other students, so it works out pretty
That's great.
well.
That's great. How often do you teach your instructor cert class?
Very, very rarely.
Okay.
If I'm lucky, I'll be lucky once or twice, or once every 2 years or so. I'll do a class, and I'll get about 4 or 5 people in it
Okay.
at the
I'm gonna have to
most.
watch for that. I would
It,
enjoy taking that from you.
it's really just about teaching the Oklahoma license class. It really is
Oh, I
just
see.
about. It's
I
very
see. Just the cert
specific.
class.
It's
Okay.
very specific to it, which is good, because the other classes that do that have nothing to do with the law.
Right.
They have
Right.
nothing to do with teaching this class. It's like the NRA 2-day class. Well, that's
Mhm.
great, but you don't teach them anything about the law, and so the instructor can just go, "Well, this is the way I read it," even though you
Yeah.
don't know how to read the law or understand case law, or how those things affect what you're saying. And just because it sounds a certain way doesn't mean it is a certain way when it comes to the law. So that's kind of what I want to do. I want to do a better one of those, so people can actually learn how to teach that exact class.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Next question. What's one helpful hint you can share with instructors just starting out?
So that one, oh, that one is a tough one, because there's so much, and exactly what I'm talking about. There's so much you want to impart to somebody who's just starting out teaching. and there's all kinds of good advice. There's all kinds of good advice. Don't make it about you. Don't be selfish. Make it about the student. There's all kinds of. I think the best thing you can do though is get a mentor.
Ooh,
Is
good.
find a mentor, because then you don't have to get that one little tidbit of advice. You can get anything you want, whatever you want. Like poor Chuck Haggard. I've known that guy online and in person for 15 years or better. And that poor guy has gotten so many phone calls and texts and emails from me over the years. It's finally tapering off, but he's got so much to give. He's got so
Yeah,
much information that, and
yeah,
he won't run me off. So I just got stuck with it. And that's probably the best thing that you can do, is just find somebody who's trustworthy, whom can teach you the stuff that you want to learn. And I'm getting blurry because the light. And just stick with that, and then you can get all that stuff. So,
That's good. That's good advice. I like that. Find a mentor, then you can learn all kinds of things, not just one
mm,
thing. That's
yep.
good stuff. Okay, what's the best piece of firearm or protection related advice you've ever received?
Yeah, that's a good one too. I took some notes because you sent me the questions earlier. OC, carrying
Mm,
OC off duty is probably the best I've ever gotten and the best I give, and it's probably the least utilized among firearms carriers, because they think, well, I got it covered. No, you don't. You've got 2% covered. You don't have 98% covered.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so that to me is probably the best, is having some less lethal option. But
yeah.
no, an OC is just magic. It's just great. Like people always say, you wouldn't even know the names of George Zimmerman and
Right.
folks like that if they had OC with them
Yep.
and knew how to use it.
True. So true.
I don't know where I stole that from. So
I've heard that recently too, so I'm gonna say I heard it from you. But yeah, no, no, good stuff. It's interesting. I just answered these questions. Also, my son interviewed me and asked me the same set of questions the other day, and that was my answer as well. Is that it's so underutilized, and and I'm finding, just because I've been diving into that topic a little bit more as far as understanding why people don't carry it, and what I'm beginning to see with people locally for me is that there's so many myths about it. They don't know what to get. They don't know what kind to get. They think that it's going to hurt them more than it'll hurt someone else. They think it doesn't work. And, just like there are so many myths about carrying a firearm or how well a handgun can stop a threat, that kind of thing. So, so we've got some ESPN going on between us. Okay. If you could train with anyone living or dead, who would it be?
yeah, there's a bunch of those, but probably have to be Pat Rogers. So
Okay.
I only knew Pat online, on social media. I never actually shook his hand, and I was always gonna take a class, and didn't. And then he passed away. And nobody was really expecting him. I mean, he was not a young guy, but he was
Yeah.
fine. We thought he was everything. We thought he was fine, and so that well, I got some time. So it would probably have to be Pat. I'd have to take a class with Pat if I could.
Good stuff. All right, two more questions. Both of these are questions that Mr. Neal thought of. So the first one is, if you could assist and instruct for anyone living or dead, who would it be?
Now that one you might be taken aback a little bit. I would want an AI for Jeff Cooper. I would want to go all the way back, and
Yep.
part of the reason is I just got back from Gunsight, doing an event there, but there's so much culture there. There's so many interesting. He's such a brilliant man, so well spoken.
Yes.
One of the folks that actually writes would write and talk the same exact way. He'd speak exactly the same way as he wrote. It was nothing for him to write these beautiful articles. I just kind of want to see what he would be like in person, and get shoot out and go having to go run for him, be his ranger monkey for a while. I think it'd be fun. It'd be a good time.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would love that too. That doesn't surprise me at all. I would love to have been able to be at Gunsight, what, in 73 or stuff when we know when Ken Hackathorn was there, Clint Smith, they were not the
Yeah,
Rage Monkeys, but they were doing the helping run the place. And I would have loved that to see how the three of them work together. And man, that
and
would have been
they've still got that level of folk. They don't have necessarily all the big names, but they've still got that same exact level of folks there. And Ken, Sheriff Ken, that's running it right now, he's doing a brilliant job of keeping it traditional, keeping those the principles of
Mhm.
it. But he's got a Glock with a red dot on his side, which I'd never thought I'd see.
I didn't think I'd see that either.
Yeah, Glock with the red dot, and that was I was like, "Hey, what's
What did
what
he
is
say?
what did I, what I didn't stop. I'm not gonna say anything to him. I'm not gonna say anything to the last name is escaping me right now, but I'm not gonna say anything to the sheriff. I'm not gonna say anything bad to him.
Oh, that's funny. I went
But
into the class with him in, well, not just, like in 2020, with Dave Spalding in Arizona,
oh yeah,
and
that'd be
he
good.
was at that class. But anyway, that's funny. Yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah,
expect
he's
to see a red
great.
dot on the guy either, but that's pretty cool.
He's a great, great guy. Absolutely wonderful.
Very
He's
nice.
perfect guy to run it.
Okay, last question. What is your favorite drill to teach or to shoot?
Got so many. But have you ever heard of the bump drill?
No.
Okay, so this is a 17R
Yep. Oh, yeah.
confirmed.
Yep.
No bang bangs, no possible way to bang a bang.
Yep.
It's an inert training device. But
I
don't
just
trust
got one of
myself.
those the other day. Just picked up one of those. I've been
I
wanting to get one
know.
for a time, but they would only film to LE for a while. But anyway, good stuff.
Yeah. I had a buddy that we ended up selling a bunch of them. You might have got it from him. That
I did.
I was handing his number out to a bunch
Yep,
of them.
I
So
did.
a
Thanks
bunch of
to
guys were like, "Hey,
you.
I want one too." So this I got this from Jerry Jones, who trained under Bruce Gray,
Okay.
and kind of an Ernie Langdon kind of guy, kind of like the a finesse kind of trigger.
Yeah.
And one of the ways that I've become a big believer in this, as I've seen it work, basically what you do is you're telling you want to get as high a number as you can, pressing the trigger ever so just a little bit harder than the previous time. So I'll touch the wall on the first one,
Okay.
and then I'll press a little bit harder on the second one, and then let off, and then press a little bit harder on the third one, and then let off. But I don't want the gun to go off.
Yes.
Try to keep the striker from falling.
Yeah.
How many can you get? So we'll make them, and I do this in the academy all the time. We'll make them do the drill, and they have to tell me 7 and high, left, low, middle, whatever. How many presses? Where was the sight at? So think about what they're
Okay.
getting out of that. Yeah, they're getting a little trigger stuff, but it's really not about the trigger. It's about them teaching them to call their shots and be focused on their sights, because we can't do red dots in the academy until they have done this. So
Okay.
after that, so we've got to teach them how to use their sights correctly, and then we make them prove it. After we let them dry fire, we make them prove it, and we tell them up front, don't lie, because if you say middle, center, right on, and then I got a bunch of low lefts, I know you was lying. So we'll go up there and look at the targets and make them prove it. So I think the bump drill is probably the one I've gotten the most out of,
Okay.
and it was more the one of the more kind of obscure classes that I took. I took a bunch of big name classes,
Yeah.
and not that Jerry's not a big name, but he's not somebody that pops out on you and does a bunch of Instagram videos and that kind of stuff. He's just a really really good teacher.
Sure. Sure. How many iterations do you have them do of the dry?
I'll do it until we feel good, until I start hearing him say center. And
Okay.
this
Okay.
is and it's a great. I know you hate the F word. I won't say flinch, but the anticipation.
I
That
don't
when
like that word either.
well, we're looking at the pre-ignition movement
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
firearm prior to. There's no good, and you're going to hate part of one of the slides I'm going to have later too for you, by the way,
That's
because
okay.
it's called the flinchies. But, so you're gonna have to claw your eyes
I
out or
can handle
something.
it.
Yeah, it's I try to just use whatever language
Well,
that'll
thank
work
you.
for them.
Yeah.
Just say, don't, going back to what Spencer Keepers often says, just don't move the gun. Just don't
Yeah.
move the gun. But that doesn't always apply. It doesn't always work.
Yeah.
But it does a lot of stuff. That one little drill does a lot of stuff. So
That's great. That's good
that's my
stuff. Thanks
favorite
for
one.
sharing that with us. I
You bet.
appreciate it. Well, thank you for your time today too. It's appreciate a pleasure to be able to learn from you and to be able to have this conversation. And I'm really sad the whole channel doesn't get to see what you're going to be doing in your talk next. Maybe the next time you do that, has Mr. John ever recorded that for the app or for the channel?
No, we don't have the phobic. We've got the gang
Hang on. Yeah.
multiple. Yeah, that's about a 5-part series on gangs, but we haven't
Okay.
done the phobic one yet.
Okay.
And that's one I wouldn't mind having recorded, because it's hard to
Yeah.
get that out there to people,
Oh,
because it's
sure.
hard to get some. I mean, they got so many cool classes going on. Kind of going off to a nerd class is a little bit
Yeah.
more of a challenge.
Yeah. I'll record it tonight when we do it with Aspen. If it turns out well, then I'll let Mr. John know and he can talk to you whether you want it on the channel. Well, thank you so much for your time today, and, I'll see you in about 30 minutes.
Can I quick give you
If you
where to
can.
find me? I forgot that part.
Oh, yes, absolutely, yes, thank you.
So it's Warren's Works on Facebook, or Warren Wilson Defensive Training Services, because that's my gig.
Okay,
And on X, it's at Warren Wilson 804.
okay, at Warren
And so
Wilson.
I'll
Okay,
occasionally put some articles and that kind of thing on there. I'm kind of building that page up a little bit. So
good
see how
stuff,
that goes.
good stuff. Alright, I'll see if Mr. John or whoever's doing the editing would be able to, put that in the link down below or the, what do you call that? In the, description.
Description.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, sounds
All
good.
right.
Well, thanks for
Great.
remembering that.
Thank you.
Alright, we'll see you soon.
See ya.